From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2479, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. If you want to have as many quality QSOs as possible, you want to deploy the best antenna possible. That's why a 40-foot extendable antenna was launched into space aboard a European Space Agency satellite on Tuesday, April 29th from French Guiana. Its goal is communication with more than 1.5 trillion trees around the world.
The biomass probe that has been put into space by ESA is looking to log trees, but it's not the kind of logging commonly associated with forests. During the next 5 years, this antenna will be using P-band radar transmissions to collect data on how much carbon is stored in trees on a number of continents, and thus gauge climate change as a result of deforestation, according to a report by the BBC. This kind of satellite with an antenna that is 12 metres in diameter is the first of its kind for such a mission. The band's relatively long wavelength is an asset because it permits the signals to see deeply inside forests in a manner scientists have compared to how a CT scan operates. The idea was proposed by the National Centre for Earth Observation, whose director, John Remedios, told the BBC that the goal is to, quote, interrogate these forests, end quote. This is Graham Kemp, VK4BB.
Bell Labs, which has a long history of making bold and notable moves in technology, is marking its 100th anniversary by preparing for another bold move, this time to a new headquarters.
As it turns 100, Nokia Bell Labs is turning elsewhere to continue its important research in the fields of technology and science. The company announced that within the next 2 years it will relocate to a smaller but more modern facility in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and out of the lab's longtime home in Murray Hill, New Jersey. Over the years, Bell's scientists have been credited with developing the transistor, making advances in radio astronomy, and being in the vanguard to usher in the digital age. The company has been the recipient of numerous Turing Awards and Nobel Prizes. Its core business continues to be mobile and optical networks and network systems support. One of its most recent innovations was the development of circuit boards printed on glass. These are for use in beam steering antennas to get less signal loss in point-to-point fixed wireless. This is considered an important development as wireless communications moves increasingly towards 6G. This is Salembi, KB3 TZD.
This has been a year for introspection in the world of communication. The IARU is examining whether to restructure. In the U.S., the FCC is evaluating the full scope of its rules and regulations. And in the U.K., the BBC is looking at ways to rechart its course.
With its charter set to expire in 2027, the BBC is using this year and next to examine its relationship with audiences across England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. BBC account holders have begun receiving questionnaires to complete online to let the broadcaster know how they see its future. Tim Davie, BBC Director General, said the questionnaire, which takes about 10 minutes to complete, is the first of the BBC's two-part research process to include later audience polling, and the results will contribute towards the BBC's charter review process. The BBC's written introduction to the questionnaire states, quote, "The BBC belongs to all of us. That's why it matters that we understand what you want the BBC to offer you and your family, and the UK overall," unquote. It's planned to publish the findings from the questionnaire later this year. This is Jeremy Bucci for NJH.
A reminder, the nominating period for the 2025 Bill Pasternak WA6 ITF Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year Award closes on Saturday, May 31st at midnight Eastern Time. Since 1986, we've honored the best young people in amateur radio for their efforts in expanding the state-of-the-art of the service and using ham radio to make the world a better place. The presentation will take place Saturday, August 16th at the Huntsville Hamfest in Huntsville, Alabama. You can find more information and the nomination form on our website, arnewsline.org, under the Awards tab. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Graham Kemp, VK4BB, Salembi, KB3TZD, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3, we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.